This is my husband, Tim.
Hello.
This is his first time ever on Facebook. Like, ever.
Ever.
No account. You will not find him. This is it.
Don't exist.
So, welcome, Tim, to Facebook.
It's wonderful to be here.
So, for those of you who don't know, I've been blogging my way through this book called To Love. It was just released 2 days ago by Elisa DiLorenzo. And she and her husband, Tony, have an incredible marriage podcast called One Extraordinary Marriage. Hope you'll check that out. That's how I found them. And I am privileged to be a part of the blog tour for this book. So I've been reading through it for a couple weeks now and really just giving my thoughts as I read what she's written. And she's encouraging us to look at our marriage through the words of Christ. And so it's challenging. It's broken down into 40 days. Great book. And I've been talking to my blog recently, which you can get to at jennyzentz.com. I think you need the www, but Tim says you may not. So I don't know. But if it doesn't work, put that in front. But anyway, you can head over there, jennyzentz.com, check it out, some of my other posts. But what I've been talking about lately is the decision that Tim and I made before we were even engaged, really, that we really believe saved our marriage. I mean, obviously, Jesus Christ saved our marriage, and we can go into that a little bit. But the fact is, marriage was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. How about you?
Yeah, it was a lot harder. It's a lot of work, and it's something that, you haven't done before, so you go into it not, you have an idea, but until you've lived it, you don't really know what to expect. So there's, lots of new things that happen, lots of new situations, lots of new emotions. So it's marriage is challenging. It's hard. You've got to work at it. So we definitely experienced that.
Yeah, and we've done a lot of work, and we're still constantly working at it. And I think when especially I accepted the fact that it was going to take more work than I wanted to admit, and it wasn't just going to all fall together, then I began to realize that, hey, it's okay to have to work at it. We are going to have to work at it. And I think when we accepted that and we started to work together for our marriage, that was a big turning point. And so we're constantly working on it day after day, moment after moment, because we're two flawed, imperfect humans. So that's just what we have to do.
And marriage isn't a destination. It's truly, truly a journey.
Ooh, that was good. Ooh, that was really good. So, okay.
Yes.
So the decision we made, I know you're all in suspense. Before we were even engaged, obviously we knew that's the way we were headed, and we met and married in 7 months. So we still had a lot of getting to know each other to do long after the actual ceremony. But what we decided is we sat down and we talked about it, and we both came from Christian homes. Parents all been married over coming up on 40 years, like 38, 39 years. And we knew that for us, divorce was not an option. We wanted marriage as the covenant relationship and as the Bible says, and we wanted it based scripturally. I'm about to drop my phone. Let me reposition. So we just said, hey, divorce does not exist. And we even went a step further and we said, we do not even mention divorce in a joke. I've heard a lot of people when they're fussing or being silly, oh, he wouldn't do that because he knows I would leave him. We do not go there, because that, even in sarcasm, can create a vulnerability. It can create a space of uncertainty. So we kind of set this parameter and this safeguard, this wall around our marriage, and we just said divorce doesn't exist. We do not use the word. We don't talk about it. We don't joke about it. And I don't think we had any idea at the time, as you said earlier, how impactful that would be on our relationship. Did you want to say something about that?
Oh, no, I was just talking earlier, in the book, Elisa talks about, how, God talks about the difference, marriage is a covenant relationship and the difference between a covenant and a contractual relationship. And, contracts can be severed, they can be broken, they can be terminated, they can be canceled. Covenant relationships cannot be. And that's been a very impactful piece of the book for me, and something that, we lived out and experienced in our marriage by, really treating it from even before it was, official, that, it was a covenant relationship, one that, could not be undone. And when you have that trust in that relationship, you can really rely on it and count on it, knowing that it's going to be there and it's not going to be severed, which, even though contracts, can be verbal or in writing, they're not a forever thing. And that builds, a lot of confidence in your spouse and, builds trust. And, it was critical for us especially in the first few years of our marriage, but, even to this day, we just both still have that, confidence in one another and in our relationship and love. And, it's just been a real blessing for us, just always having that perspective and point of view.
It's like a safety net. I mean, we know that if we're walking this tightrope of marriage and one of us screws up really bad and falls, that's going to catch us and we're going to be okay. We're going to be safe in that. Or basically knew we were stuck. So we knew
one or the other.
We knew that we either worked it out or we were miserable the rest of our lives. But what it did was it created, I've always talked about it, is it created this safety zone, this barrier where that we were able to, when we literally were not even home from our honeymoon, when the intense fellowship first began, as some of our friends used to say, there were moments, and we hit a lot of things that both of us, especially me, had to deal with. I had a lot of stuff that was inside of me, a lot of just bitterness and anger and some hurt and just things that I hadn't really dealt with properly and in a healthy way, but nobody knew because I was confident and I was bubbly and I was happy, and it wasn't fake. It was really me, but at night I could go home and I could close my door and no one was around, and then I could figuratively and literally beat myself up. I used to have a real hard problem with that. We'll talk about that some other day. But I had a lot of self-loathing and a lot of recovery to do. But when we got married, there was no closing myself off. I couldn't be me over here and then go home and no one see what I was dealing with because he was always there.
Hello! Can't get rid of me.
I couldn't get away from him. So then he had to be witness to this, and I had to deal with this stuff that I had just kind of stuffed in this little personal corner of my life. And so we had a lot of stuff that hit the fan, so to speak.
Yeah. This is the Christian edition. It's stuff hitting the fan.
It was not easy. It was not easy, and there were some hard times. There was one particular morning, as I wrote about in a recent post, where I was on my knees in tears as he stormed out the door for work about 6:30 in the morning. We'd been home from our honeymoon a few weeks. And I remember we fussed about something. No doubt I started it. And he wasn't the most sensitive person at the time. He's gotten so much better. Yeah.
Sort of. Working.
But the point is, something had happened. And I just remember he was going down the 3 floors of our townhouse stairs. And I was like, I love you, just kind of like my dad's last-ditch effort. And he says, yeah, whatever, and slams the door. And I don't blame him, because it was a really tense situation. I just remember hitting the floor and thinking, God, what have I done? I mean, what have I done? Something's not working here. This is not right. Did I make a big mistake? And I had the confidence and the peace before we got married. I knew that he was the one. I mean, we prayed about it and we took that to the Lord, and I knew he was the one. So that held me for sure, because I could always fall back on what I knew regardless of how I felt. But there was just this time where I had to come to that point and realize, okay, I'm stuck. He's stuck. Regardless of whether or not we made a mistake, and I would say that to anybody, regardless of whether you think your marriage is a mistake, get over it. I mean, that's intense, but it's true. You're there. You're in that marriage. You are part of that marriage. You have made that covenant relationship. So stop trying to figure out, oh no, did I mess up? It really doesn't matter. Give your broken pieces to the Lord, and he can build something incredible out of it. And I think that creating that safety zone of knowing that there was no way out gave us the ability to talk with each other and to hash out the things we had to hash out, and even fight, if you have to say that, in a healthy way, and get the stuff out there, because I didn't have to worry, is he going to leave me if things get too intense? I didn't have to be afraid of that. And so it created a place where we could bring out all that stuff and get through all that stuff, and know that we were going to get through all that stuff one way or another, because this was for keeps. And so that was definitely, in my opinion, the best decision we ever made for our marriage. And if you're in a marriage that's tough and you have not made that decision, I would challenge you, make it now. Draw a line in the sand right now. This is the day. Divorce does not exist. Elisa says, take it off the table and move forward. Take all your pieces and all your mess can be your message. Give those back to God. Throw them at his feet, and he can build something stronger. And I think we both agree that even though we didn't have a honeymoon phase, I remember listening to people, I'm like, oh, this is not, there's no honeymoon phase. Things were not like that in that little townhouse in Virginia. But we were stronger once we hit year 4 and 5 and on. we were stronger because of what we dealt with at the beginning. You agree with that?
Absolutely. Now look at us.
Now look at us. We're in the same chair. But yeah, definitely stronger having gone through that, having to dealt with those things and having to just duke it out in some ways and get through that. It made us a lot stronger. Bones broke and grew back stronger. And I think that our relationship, having to fight for us, made us stronger. I do want to read one quick thing. Again, if you have not gotten your copy of Called to Love, I hope you'll do it. I think you'll love it. It is a really good book. It's a 40-day devotional. It will challenge you and inspire you to really see your marriage through the gospel. And it's really great. But I want to read. Will you hold this for me, please? Okay. I just want to read really quickly one thing that Elisa says. This is in day 1. She says, when you and I take a stand for our marriages, when we say that it's going to be different, when we say that we are taking divorce off the table, generations are changed. One couple living out God's word serves as a light to others. One couple choosing to not let anything separate them impacts everyone in their community and ultimately the world. So let God use your marriage, and He will. And we have kind of committed. Tim kind of ended up with a woman that had fire in her soul and a lot of spunk, and our life is an open book, and that's the way to let it be used for the Lord. You know, we could waller in our we could waller in our problems. We could I'm originally from Kentucky. It comes out sometimes. But we could sit around and, you know, lick our wounds and hide in a corner somewhere. Or we can say, hey, world, this is our mess. We have issues like everybody else. But we can let the Lord use that. And so we can let Him take our mess and turn it into a message. You laughing at me?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Okay. Do you have anything else?
Nope, you're doing great.
Okay. Well, Saturday will be our 11-year anniversary. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Yay, we made it.
Made it. 11 years.
So, plenty more to come. Plenty more good years to come.
Plenty more.
Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. You guys have a good night. Thanks for watching. Head over to www.jennyzents.com, or on Facebook you can find The Mommy Call. Just look it up and it's there. And you will also find links to get Elisa's book. And I hope that you will and that you'll enjoy it. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.